This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
When our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, and our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts is within, and we feel the power of each other's pain, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning. It is the first morning of daylight savings time. Who's awake? Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, you're all technically awake if you're here. Well, so there's a lot of things that are going on in the month of March, right? A lot of things start in March. Daylight savings time has just begun. Spring starts technically on the 19th is the spring equinox this year. Tomorrow night at sundown, actually it's tonight at sundown, the 10th, Ramadan begins, which is a holy month for those our siblings of the Muslim faith. And so that's a very important time of fasting. So be very kind to anyone. We should be kind to everyone always. Be especially kind to your Muslim friends as they may be foregoing meals during the day for the next month. It's a very holy time for them. And Nowruz, which is Persian New Year, also starts this week. So there's all these new starts. And today we're going to talk about welcome. And we think a lot about the fact that welcome is something we think about when it's somebody new, right? Like a new person comes in and you want to say, hi, welcome, it's good to see you. But doesn't it feel nice to be welcomed when you're already here, right? Like if you're here every week, isn't it still nice when folks say, hey, it's good to see you again, right? It's nice. It's nice to feel welcome. It's nice to when people say, hey, I know you. I'm glad you're here. And that goes for everyone. And I am thinking a lot about this line from our chalice lighting that Steve just read for us. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Now, whatever you think beyond means, it can be helpful if you're not sure, if you're happy to see this new person, this new idea, this new season. I love spring. Not everybody loves the longer days. Some people really like the coziness of winter, right? So whatever's coming with all these new beginnings, I'd like for us to think about the changing our ideas of welcome from not just being welcoming to people who are new or to new situations, but to ones maybe that we see again and again, like the change of the seasons, which is going to lead us into a body prayer. So you can do this seated or you can do it standing, and this goes for everyone here. So if you'd like to remain in your seats, you can do it that way, or if you would like to stand up, you can do it that way as well. I'm gonna have to really hope I can see this on the floor. I feel like I know this poem by now, but this is a poem called Winter Poem by Nikki Giovanni, but it is about the transition into spring. So I'm gonna read it through, and there are actions that you can do with it. It's all arms, and if these feel inaccessible to you, you can modify them. You can also just sit in silence, but I invite you to make the motions. I'm going to go through one time with the motions. Pick up on it if you want to follow along, and then we're going to do it a second time, and hopefully by then everyone will have gotten a chance to go through it, okay? Once a snowflake fell on my brow, and I loved it so much, and I kissed it, and it was happy and called its cousins and its brothers, and a web of snow engulfed me. And then I reached to love them all, and I squeezed them, and they became a spring rain, and I stood perfectly still and was a flower. So if you didn't do it the first time, I would love to invite you, and you can stand up if you're more comfortable, you can do it from your seats, whatever you want to do, but let's do it together. Once a snowflake fell on my brow, and I kiss it, and I love it so much. Oh, I got it back. I love it so much, and I kiss it. And it was happy and called its cousins and brothers, and a web of snow engulfed me. And I reached out to love them all, and I squeezed them, and they became a spring rain, and I stood perfectly still and was a flower. So thank you all for coming up and hearing a little bit about welcoming even those things you're not sure you want to welcome, or those things that you've seen again and again, like winter turning into spring. So I'd love to invite us all to sing our kids out to class. You can go out with your teachers today. Thanks for coming up. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go in peace. Now is if you always, as you go, as you go.
Our reading this morning is a statement of welcome by Reverend Alicia Ford that is included as part of the UUA's resource packet on creating multicultural welcome. In our covenantal faith, we abide not by creeds, but by negotiated and renegotiated bonds that hold us together in relationship. We attend deeply to the question, how are we together? We ask, how do we behave toward ourselves and others in ways that demonstrate our commitment to affirming the inherent worth and the inherent dignity of each of us? We who believe that revelation is not sealed are writing sacred texts with our lives, with our smallest actions. Our willingness to be invitational contributes volumes to this sacred living text. Our willingness to extend welcome, seeing the humanity and divinity in another, honoring their culture, identities, stories, and deeply held truths, is part of what it means to embody this faith. In our hands is the power to craft a compelling narrative of extraordinary respect, of welcome and transformational community for our Unitarian Universalists present and future. Come, come, whoever you are. The doors are open. May we affirm that truth with our acts of hospitality, and in our midst, may there always be room for one more.
So in 2017, I was fortunate enough to have a chance to fly to the Philippines to visit a close friend of mine. This was a very long plane journey, and on this long plane journey, I had one stopover to change planes in Beijing. Now, I had never been to China, and I still don't claim that I have visited. I don't believe it counts if you never leave the airport. But I worried about being able to find my way. And it was more than a little nerve-wracking. For the first time, I was in a place full of signs and symbols, and most of them were ones that I didn't recognize, not just ones I couldn't read. I've certainly been in places where I was surrounded by signs in a language that I don't speak or don't speak well, like Spanish, but the alphabets are the same and I can sound things out, maybe with a phrase book or an app or some knowledge of shared languages and similarities. But written Chinese is indecipherable to me, not even to be able to sound out or describe. And the pictograms that were used to aid travelers from other countries were even strange to me, as they were based in other cultures and understandings. Now, the Beijing airport is a huge international airport. It serves travelers from all around the world. And so the signs were good enough for me to navigate from place to place, and I didn't have any real difficulty. No, what I mostly experienced was discomfort, a kind of displacement from my usual reality, the real and physical reminder that there are whole realms of human experience that are entirely unknown to me. We who believe that revelation is not sealed are writing sacred texts with our lives, with our smallest actions. When I think of small acts of welcoming, I think of things like holding doors for people, or visiting a place for the first time and discovering that it does have plenty of signs to help newcomers figure out where to go. And of course, there are things that I find welcoming, like an abundance of signs in a language I can read, that others would not find welcoming, an echo of my own experience in that Beijing airport. Our willingness to be invitational contributes volumes to this sacred living text. Our willingness to extend welcome, seeing the humanity and divinity in another, honoring their culture, identities, stories, and deeply held truths, is part of what it means to embody this faith. The fact of the matter is that no matter how hard we try to be welcoming, to learn more deeply about what welcome can be, to inform ourselves of best practices when welcoming others, and examining our own preconceived notions about what may feel welcoming and what might not, we are not going to get it right 100% of the time. And so I would add to the Reverend Alicia Ford's wise words from our reading, our willingness to be invitational and occasionally uncomfortable contributes volumes to this sacred living text. So let's talk about the living text that our reading even comes from. It is from a 15-page PDF available from the UUA titled Multicultural Welcome, a resource for greeters in Unitarian Universalist congregations. It's wonderful that we have this resource. It's wonderful that we understand that we need this resource. And I've just done two things in this paragraph that might feel unwelcoming or confusing. For a newcomer, the acronym UUA might not mean anything. It means Unitarian Universalist Association. Unitarian Universalists have a love of acronyms, and it is a good practice of welcome as well as of writing to spell out what an acronym means each time one is used, or at least to use it in full and then shorten it. So I will also point out that PDF means portable document format, though in this instance, the acronym itself is generally understood in common usage. The unwelcoming thing here is also the potential that it's available as an electronic file, but I didn't have a print copy here for you. You have to print it out yourself, and not everyone has access to the internet. Not everyone has the devices needed to read the document. We put a lot of thought into being welcoming. We do have print orders of service. We have slides here on the monitor up front. We have the Zoom option available for those not able to attend in person. We have hymnals available, and we put those lyrics up here. We have assistive listening devices, and we have friendly faces at the welcome desk and all around. We have a soul work cart in the back as we try to live into the truth that different people have different ways to learn, to feel comfortable, to take in information, to calm down. And we don't produce large print copies of the order of service. We don't have an American Sign Language, ASL interpreter. We don't have preset places for wheelchairs, instead relying on ushers and attendees weekly to move chairs around when there is a need. Of course, we've heard the phrase, we can't be all things to all people. And that is entirely true. But I think sometimes this can get shorthanded into a second implied statement, so we shouldn't even try. Again, I'd say we should absolutely try our best, knowing we'll fail. We, and the vast majority of UU congregations and other congregations of most other faiths, cannot afford an ASL interpreter to be up here weekly. But we can consider planning to include one for events where it might be more likely to be needed or where it is specifically requested. We could print a few large print orders of service each week, and in fact, I think I'll ask Jason to start doing that, right? We could arrange the chairs with a few deliberate cutouts for wheelchairs and other assistive mobility devices. Our tech team thinks about accessibility, which is a form of welcome. Our worship team does too, and our staff does, and I try to consider this in every decision. And we are never going to get it 100% right. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. This being human is a guest house, a beloved verse by Rumi that Steve shared with us as our chalice lighting. Thank you. It's a great way to think about the discomfort that being truly welcoming can sometimes mean. It gives us a way of it also gives us a way to think about not getting too caught up in getting our welcome right, but in getting our welcome active and ready to learn, ready to laugh at its own mistakes and still work towards improving. And Rumi's poem asks us to think about the inner spiritual work of welcome as well. Because it's about more than just making sure that our sanctuary is welcoming to a newcomer to our community, although that is very important. It is also about making our hearts ready to listen and learn when something feels unwelcoming to us, and when we learn a hard lesson, perhaps at the news of someone else's feelings of unwelcome. I haven't yet mentioned it, but today's sermon was a auction sermon raffle win from our beloved board secretary, Leslie Johnston. And you might even remember, if you are paying very close attention, that last year she got an auction sermon from Reverend Cindy Terlazzo, and she asked Cindy to reflect on the same topic. How welcoming are we really? And then when I talked to Leslie about it, she also wanted me to consider the very real fact that we are the faith tradition with the most attrition. I hate words like that, anyway. But the most children and youth raised in our UU congregations who then leave and do not return to membership in a UU congregation later in life. People just go. Now, I'll be very upfront. I do not know how to solve this problem, how to raise UU children and youth that will more often than not grow into UU adults and elders. And if I did know, I would definitely be going into business as a consultant and sell that solution to every single UU congregation. But of course, there isn't a singular solution at any rate. There are many ways to consider this, to consider what welcome means when we are always trying to consider the newcomer, and the people who have been here since birth are perhaps feeling unconsidered. That's why I talked with the kids this morning about what welcome means, even when it's something you've seen or someone or a time or a place that you've been to again and again. Ours is a faith tradition that many come to as adults, myself included. I've talked about this before, and I have even used my favorite analogy, which I will use again because it works well. Consider Unitarian Universalism as a beautiful island, surrounded by often stormy seas. When there is a powerful storm on the sea, it can sometimes wash people up on our shores. Perhaps the storm is a harmful faith tradition in their family of origin. Perhaps the storm is a crisis in their personal or professional life. Perhaps the storm is a building sense of disillusionment or disaster in the world or society at large. When a newcomer arrives on our island, at first they just want to rest. It feels welcoming enough just to be out of the storm. But eventually, other needs will arise: water, food, shelter, etc. And in this analogy, the members of the congregation who were already here, were already on the island. When the latest storm washed up its survivors, they are in charge of offering to help meet the needs of those survivors that just washed up. They just arrived. We want to take them off the shore and into the deeper parts of the island, where we have worked together on the nourishing parts that our bodies, minds, hearts, and souls cry out for at all times, but especially when the moment of crisis has passed. But what about children born on this island? I'm keeping with this analogy. While they are not ignorant of the storms, they see the angry clouds. They also help the people who have arrived on the shore. Their experience of both storm and calm is very different from those who washed up here. If all of the resources, the time and the attention and the care on the island are going to helping the people who just washed up on the shore, then the ones who have never left the island might feel a wanting, an unnamed certainty that there is more nourishment that might be available, but it is not on offer here. Eventually, a boat will come. Storm tossing is not the only way that people find us, of course. And children on the island may decide they want to seek that nourishment elsewhere and board that boat. We're never going to get welcome 100% correct. And we're never going to get a 100% retention. I hate that word so much. I don't know. We're never going to keep, it's never going to be 100% of children and youth are going to stay adult UUs and members of congregations, because that just doesn't happen. 100% rarely happens. And would we really want to? Honestly, if we honor the act of seeking as sacred, if we who believe that revelation is not sealed are writing sacred texts with our lives, with our smallest actions, then we know that ours is and must be a free faith that may be entered freely and left without rancor. Welcoming is a many-layered practice, both physical and spiritual. It does go both ways. If we want to be ready to learn when our welcome may not work the way we want it to, then we must hope that everyone who comes into our spaces can give us and one another the grace to understand that part of our task is to learn and to grow together. Welcoming needs to be agile and responsive, and those being welcome need to understand that perfection is not possible, that psychic ability is not proven. We cannot know what you need often if you do not express it. We must commit to expressing our unmet needs in a generative way, just as we must listen to the stories of unmet needs non-defensively. The fact of the matter is, we won't be welcoming to everyone because there are people who need things different than what we have on offer. Some people need answers. We honor questions. Some people need an unchanging tradition. Ours is a living tradition, a living faith that strives to learn and grow and respond to the times in which we live. Some people need more ritual, or a different kind of ritual, or less ritual. Some people need more God language. Some people need no God language. And sometimes these needs aren't so much needs as they are comfort levels. Whenever you find yourself with an unmet need in a worship service, when you consider maybe that 80% of it really worked for you, but that 20% really didn't, find it within yourself to remind yourself that the parts that did not meet your need may have met a need for someone else. Which brings us back to that uncertain feeling that I thought of at the beginning, remembering being in a foreign country and getting a visceral sense of how very unimaginably large and varied human experience is. And also to coming around to learning from that experience. How do we care for everybody who comes through our doors or our shores, and everybody who starts out here and then heads for other lands? We care for ourselves. We remind ourselves to be curious about all that we do not know. We tidy our guest house. We meet all at the door laughing, knowing some will stay and some will leave. And we consider how we can extend our nourishing hospitality not only to newcomers, but to our oldest and most beloved companions. This is a house we only build together. So may it be.
Love will guide us, peace has tied us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from grace to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you can
Please join us in extinguishing our chalice and your home chalices, if you've lit one, with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Ready? We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. And we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Oh yeah, yeah.
Heaven knows how we will get there, but we will get there. There isn't a 100% right way of doing pretty much anything. There is the trying, there is the learning from the failing, there is the choosing to continue to do the work together, even and especially when it is hard. May your weeks be filled with the light, the flame of our faith, and know that you have a connected and supportive community with you as you move into this world. So may it be.